The worst feeling you can have is feeling that you're alone. And I was alone for a long time until I started chatting, until I started advocating, until I started telling my story. And then I was surrounded with other veterans and saying, oh man, we are the same. I'm not alone.
I was a ghost in the civilian community, and I wasn't connected. The extraordinary thing about being in the military was that camaraderie was incredible. When someone was deployed, it wasn't uncommon for their fellow service member, their fellow airman, to mow their lawn, to take their spouse out, to pick up their children from school. It wasn't uncommon to be this close-knit family. And after years of this, after deploying together, after flying together, after training together, there's this incredible bond. Once we leave the military, those expectations aren't there anymore.
We moved from a place where we had people that were within a 20-minute drive that we could see all the time to a place where it was just, my wife Brittany and I. So then I started going into the self-medication phase of, I'm not doing good, so let me just drink it out of my system, right? And then I'll do better. I'll just do better if I don't have to think about it, which is, it works for a little bit, and then it gets way worse from there. After 2 months of being out, I just started to hit the bottoms. Finally, one night, Brittany came out and she said, what is wrong? What's wrong with you? And I just remember saying, I just don't have any good dudes in my life. And I use that term very loosely because dudes for me is guys and girls, right? I just don't have anybody that relates to who I am anymore. And she said, okay, that's all well and good, but you need to figure out what you're gonna do to make you happy for the rest of our lives, or we're not gonna have a good marriage. And she's like, by the way, you're getting fat, get your ass to the gym. So I said, all right. That was kind of the boot that I needed at that point in time, because to be honest with you, without her, no one else was gonna give that to me.
This was the first time I was truly alone. My husband was still active duty, and he was at Cherry Point, and I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina. I had a huge house that was empty except for 3 dogs and me, a job that I hated. And it was really hard because I never wanted him to talk about how great the Marine Corps was. He didn't want to talk about it, and he didn't want to hear how bad I was having it because he felt so guilty. So a lot of my transition was the two of us failing each other, which I think happens a lot for military marriages. It's very easy to fall in love in the Marine Corps, but when you get out and you're different people, it's harder to hold that together. Very few of my female friends across any of the services are still with their spouse.
If you had told me after Iraq that I would be happily married with a kid and less than 2 years away from having my bachelor's degree, I'd be like, you're funny. But it's amazing how life can change. I spend a lot of time in church, and I always thought people that spend a lot of time in church were crazy and hypocrites. I mean, I really did. It's funny, because when I first met my husband, I told him, I said, look, I don't do the Jesus thing, okay? So when we were pregnant, he took me to the church he grew up in, and they let me and my husband get married in a church when our son was 2. We put the baby before marriage, and they didn't care. They didn't care about that. They cared about us. And I didn't think that, that I would ever see that. And then he sort of organized religion, and I did. So this is like a second home to me.
For 10 years, I was homeless. I called my mom, and I was just honest. Mom, this is the drugs that I'm doing. I've had several suicide attempts. My life is off the rails. I don't know what to do. And my mom said, you have two choices. You can stay there and die, or you can come home and decide to live. And so I came home. I enrolled in Pensacola State College. And then from there, I ended up meeting some veterans on campus, and then they were part of the student group called Student Veterans of America. And then it was there I met my friend, Jim Yauger, and he said, so what's your story? And I told him my story. I'm like, I'm homeless, and this is my life, and I'm excited to just be able to learn and be a part of something bigger than myself, to get myself out of that. And from there, he just wrapped his arms around me. He was like, bro, we got you. And then all of them just kind of coalesced and gave me the support. Today, I've been able to create meaningful relationships. It took a long time for me to get here. I still struggle, but I was able to find light in a lot of darkness and a lot of
My best friend and I, one of my sergeants from Afghanistan, created this event called the Silkies Hike because I wanted to get a bunch of veterans together to just have a good time.
Welcome to another Silkies Hike. How you doing?
After the first event, someone did it 2 weeks later, and then a week after that. And next thing you know, there was like 30 hikes planned across the country. The goal is for people to walk out of the event with at least one new friend. We're wearing combat boots, these tiny little green shorts. Oh, and a lot of flags. So it looks like this really patriotic veterans event, but weird because they're in their underwear. And they feel more socially connected than they have in a very long time. The importance of that, I think, is grossly underestimated.
They were doing one in Denver where I was living at the time, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I went out, made basically a whole new group of friends. I got that feeling of brotherhood and camaraderie back, and it was almost addictive. At the end of the hikes that I coordinate, I just kind of take a minute and I look around and I just see everybody hugging, laughing, some people are crying. They need this camaraderie, this brotherhood. We want to let people know that there's another option, there's another way out, put the gun back in the safe, put the bottle down, come out and celebrate, celebrate your life. Realize that there's a whole other group of people that are going through the same things.